So Nigeria's internal security crisis is no longer just a domestic issue. It's become a high-stakes battle for influence in Washington, according to the UK-based Africa Confidential, a respected newsletter that's built a global reputation for original reporting and analysis of key political and security developments across Africa. As competing narratives over violence and claims of a Christian genocide gain traction in the US, the Nigerian government and Biafran secessionist groups are now locked in an aggressive lobbying war, each seeking the attention and support of President Trump. According to Africa Confidential, alarmed by President Trump's threat last November to go into Nigeria guns a-blazing, the Tinubu administration has moved quickly to counter separatist claims, signing a multi-million-dollar lobbying contract with a Republican-linked firm to shape U.S. policy on visas, military cooperation, trade, and religious freedom. The scale of Abuja's effort far outweighs that of the pro-Biafra groups, who are also lobbying Washington, pushing for sanctions, diplomatic recognition, and even future military and oil agreements. So what's really at stake in this foreign lobbying battle? And how could it shape Nigeria's security, sovereignty, and international standing? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from London by Patrick Smith, Editor-in-Chief of Africa Confidential, and is also Editor-in-Chief of the Africa Report, a monthly African politics and business magazine. Patrick, thank you very much indeed for joining us. You're a very busy man, so we appreciate your taking the time to talk to us, and a very happy new year to you. And your reporting suggests Nigeria's security crisis is now being fought not just at home, but in Washington. I mean, how unusual is it for an internal African security issue to escalate to this level of what I might call US lobbying warfare?
Yeah, greetings, Charles, and Happy New Year to you and all your viewers. It's actually par for the course within the American system. The lobbying issue, the lobbying operations in the US are very much part of the political bargaining system there. You know, for example, I can give you the case of a senior State Department official who was backing the UNITA separatist movement in Angola under Jonas Savimbi. If you remember, way back in the 1980s, the CIA was backing Jonas Savimbi. Then the MPLA won the elections in 1992. This guy left the State Department, set up a lobbying firm, and then started backing the MPLA. And he was paid $1 million a year to run a website for the MPLA. And that's often the case. And I think the problem with this lobbying business is it's a sort of privatization of diplomacy, and it downgrades the real decision makers and the state, and it downgrades accountability. And I think that came out very strongly when U.S. President Trump made his threats about going into Nigeria guns a-blazing. And suddenly the government in Abuja had to react really quickly, appoint ambassadors, not just to the US and UK, but several other countries, and then start this kind of negotiation with the US officials.
So, I mean, I lost you there for a minute, but what specifically triggered the sudden scramble for influence in Washington? Was it President Trump's comments or something deeper that's been building for years?
I think it was manifold, Charles. I think it was, first of all, the threat of the US deciding to make Nigeria a target and threatening military action. And I think there are also bad memories among the Tinubu loyalists of what happened 10 years ago under President Goodluck Jonathan, when the kidnapping of the Chibok girls became an international cause célèbre. And in the lights of many at the time, that was one of the government's failures on that was one of the reasons why Goodluck Jonathan lost that election against Muhammadu Buhari. And I think the Tinubu campaign team saw that coming down the road and thought we must move really fast on this. So I think on that score, it had an effect. And I think also, as you said in your intro, you've had this long-running lobbying campaign by the Biafran lobbyists demanding action because Christians are being targeted in Nigeria, because that's its sort of core element. It's got quite a lot of traction with the religious right in the US, and that's really helped it in terms of getting that profile. So I think that the Tinubu administration thought we must counter this. We must counter it, both what's happening in the Trump administration, and we must counter the narrative of the Biafran secessionists.
And of course, as you said, Patrick, claims of a Christian genocide have been gaining traction in US political circles. I mean, from your investigations, how accurate or misleading is that framing of Nigeria's security crisis?
Well, everyone we've spoken to, including people in the US, but I mean, the most authoritative sources are obviously going to be coming from civic groups in Nigeria. And the view we've been getting is that there's a major security crisis in Nigeria. And I think the ACLED security trackers have said over 10,000 people were killed in violent attacks last year, which is a kind of low-level conflict level. I mean, if you think about the number of people that have been killed in Ukraine or Sudan, you're heading up to those sorts of figures. But that is across the board. That is Muslims, that is Christians, that is people of other faiths, and indeed atheists. I mean, every person, every citizen could be subjected to this violence. And I think that's the point, that it's not targeted against one particular faith. Everyone is tied up in it. And I think it's had more resonance, shall we say, in the US, where the religious right and the Christian lobby groups are extremely powerful. And that's why it seems to have taken flight as a kind of propaganda meme that's gone out, and it's pushed the government into acting.
I was just going to, I mean, you've kind of answered the next question I was going to ask you, which is why has this narrative resonated so strongly in parts of the American political system, particularly among sort of conservatives and evangelical audiences? So let me move on from that, because your newsletter, Africa Confidential, and as we've been discussing here, reports that the Tinubu administration has signed an expensive contract with a Republican-linked lobbying firm. I mean, what exactly is Nigeria trying to influence in Washington? Is it policy? Is it perception? Is it protection from sanctions? I know you sort of touched on it briefly, but if you could expand on that a bit.
I think that's that's the nub of the issue, Charles. Why so much money, and why now? Because after President Trump made his statement, then National Security Advisor Nuhu Rabadu went to Washington with his intelligence staffers, and they met Peaks Hegseth and the U.S. Chairman of the Chiefs of Staff. They had a very high-level meeting 3 weeks after Trump's statement, and then they got into these negotiations about what security help Nigeria could get from the US. And it's nothing to do with lobbying. And that's what's a bit of a puzzle. Rabadu didn't need a lobbyist to open the door to meet Hegseth. He organized that through Nigeria's diplomatic channels. And a lot of people I've spoken to on the Nigerian side and the US side say, there's a number of extremely talented diplomats within the Nigerian system. And they're the people that should be called into action on this, because they have a lot more credibility. They come from the country. They speak the languages. They know the issues. They know the political nuances in all this. and they would be far more effective than engaging foreign lobbyists. And the lobbyists are going to do, a bunch of things, but the main thing is they're going to do is open a door to meet the top American officials. But it seems that Ribadu was able to do that without hiring a lobbyist at the time.
So, in that regard, does this kind of lobbying signal diplomatic weakness, or is it simply the reality of sort of modern international politics?
It's something everyone is doing. I mean, that is states across Latin America, states across Africa and Asia, and states across Europe tend to lobby U.S. officials. I guess you could argue one thing the lobbyists could help with would be U.S. Congress. Now, there are about $350 million worth of armaments which the U.S. is meant to be supplying Nigeria to help on the counterterrorism campaign and all the rest of it. That stuff has got stuck in Congress under Joe Biden because the Nigerian military didn't meet their strictures on accountability and protection of civilians and so on. So I suppose that's one thing the lobbyists are going to do, which is to press U.S. Congress to release that money and to release those arms, for which Nigeria is going to pay, $1/3 billion. And you've got to ask yourself, with the transactional nature of Donald Trump's government, that's selling arms to Nigeria is going to be probably easier under the present U.S. administration than it was under the Biden administration, with its various strictures on who buys arms and what they use them for.
Indeed. And of course, on the other side, looking at the brilliant article that Africa Confidential wrote, on the other side, Biafra-linked groups are also lobbying Washington, calling for sanctions, recognition, and even future military and oil deals. I mean, how seriously are these groups being taken in U.S. policy circles?
Well, serious enough that you've got people like Ted Cruz, who is the conservative senator who chairs the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's a big supporter of the Biafra government in exile. He's a big supporter, actually, of the Somaliland region in East Africa. And Mike Pompeo, who was the former Secretary of State, and that was under Trump's first term. And Pompeo is a very devout evangelical Christian, and so is Cruz, and they're combining the two things, where they're talking about the rights of the people of Southeast Nigeria, and also this issue again of protecting Christians. So yeah, they've got a lot of sway within the Republican Party. And a lot of this stuff, Charles, is about sentiment as much as anything else. It's often free from, shall we say, established facts and evidence. It's a sense that these are evangelical Christians who put that belief above all else. And the Biafran lobbyists have been extremely effective over probably 20 years, working through the religious right in the US, which brings together a lot of these evangelical groups, and they're big financiers of the Republican Party. And as the Republican Party has moved to the right, so have they. And they've become a big mobilizer of votes for the Republican parties. So there are people who are evangelical Christians who may not like the look of Donald Trump and his various comments about women and all the rest of it, but they bury that concern for the greater good, which they say is the man is for Christians. He's for evangelical Christians, and in that case, we're going to give him our support. So Trump, the evangelical base is absolutely critical for Trump, and that's, I think, it accounts for some of the success of the Biafra lobby in the US.
Well, that's a very illuminating assessment from you. And in that context, Patrick, I mean, is there a risk that fringe or poorly sourced claims could begin to shape US foreign policy towards Nigeria?
We observe a minute of silence to the fallen heroes of Biafra, and the time starts now. We mourn our heroes past, we celebrate them, and our heroes living as we continue to fight on to see that Biafra is fully restored. Ise, 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 Ise. Greetings to Biafran people and to all lovers of freedom, and to those that are joining us for the first time, and those that will just come across this very broadcast. Please take it with good faith, because Biafra is our religion. It is where and what we worship. Our leaders of old, we salute all of you for your sacrifices, and our leaders in prison, we salute you. Our BDF, we salute you, and Biafrans in the homeland, we salute all of you. When you listen to this very documentary here or interview on Arise Television, you will hear the lamentations and the cry of the British analyst there and the Nigerian analyst, all working for one Nigeria. And you can hear them enumerate the report card of BRGIE. Can you hear them enumerate the report card of BRGIE here? what BRJ has done, how they are dealing with one Nigeria in Washington, D.C., what they will do, what they have put on the table, and how they themselves are so much in panic because of Senator Ted Cruz having support for Biafra and Mike Pompeo having support for Biafra and many other senators of the U.S. Congress. So, with that, thank you to our PM, Honorable Okechukwu Nkere, His Excellency, for your excellent work, because you don't make noise too much since our uh, former PM was imprisoned, but you are giving results that everybody can see. So the result speaks louder than words or actions or even gra gra. Thank you for your sacrifices, and with your entire cabinet, we say thank you. Then we move on from there to let Biafrans understand that the over 321 people that have been confirmed slaughtered in Kwara community was averted by Biafrans in Biafra territory. Since after our two leaders were kidnapped and imprisoned, the tempo has not been cold. The terrorists that were supposed to have come to Biafra land to slaughter Biafrans, we knocked them off our boundaries. We pushed them over to where they were well and properly contracted, where they sat down to plan the genocide of Biafrans. We pushed them back to those places. We did not just stop there in pushing them back in the homeland, but we weaponized U.S. foreign policies apparatus against them in Washington, D.C. So that is why you hear them crying with this video on the screen from Arise Television. And while Nigeria is in turmoil, all these numbers of massacre and slaughter that float the media on daily basis from the north and middle belt and even the Yoruba land part of Nigeria, they were ordained to happen in Biafra land. But BDF shut them off with your support, with the hard work of BRGI. Without BRGI, without BDF, the whole place would have been upside down. All this cry that is happening now in Kwara, happening in Benue, Kaduna, Kano, Samfara, Plateau, Borno, the destination was Biafra. But the grace of God, which is not just made and given, but you have to stand up to actualize the grace of God upon your life. That is what Biafran people did when they launched ESN in 2020. That is what they did when they launched BDF in 2023. That is what they did when they continue to fund their security. Nigeria being the worst place for a Christian to live. When you sleep and wake up and you hear that 321 people were slaughtered to death in one particular community. The country is on a suicidal slide, is on a red list. It is a country where every community should have their security architecture to curtail the menace of the jihadist terrorists. The government of the day will not allow them if they want to be loyal to the government of the day. If they want to remain unprovoked, all their villages and communities will be totally wiped out. Nigerian government will only come and build IDP camps for you to go and stay, rather than build your own homes, which the terrorists came to slaughter you and desolate. They rather prefer to go and build IDP camps, drag you out of your homes, then allow your homes to be occupied by the terrorists which they themselves created. So Biafran people have averted the over 321 people that were slaughtered in Kwara State, in Kwara community to be precise. By who? The jihadist terrorists. Another massacre was also happening in Katsina. Another massacre was also happening in Benue. Another massacre was also happening in Niger State. It is a simultaneous, spontaneous, and contagious pattern that they use. It is a system of annihilation which they have to annihilate your race so as to implant their own. The red alert for the Biafran people and to the Biafran people is that you have to remember that God is giving you the grace and has given you the grace. Thank God that some of you listen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. If you did not listen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the grace of God upon the Biafran people wouldn't have been activated, because every other person in Nigeria that ignored the messages of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the messages of Dr. Mai Lafia, today they are no more. The terrorists have wiped them out. The grace of God that was showered and stationed on the Biafran people, and they wholeheartedly welcomed it and activated it, is what has made it possible for you to be able to avert the terrorists from Biafra land to go back to where they sat down to plan those terrorists to come and eliminate you. Biafran people will draw these terrorists to our own battlefield, and then they will come. We open the front for them, they will enter and they will fall in Biafra land. By the time they leave their own homes to come and kill Biafrans, before you go back home, your own lands, your own families, your own villages will be overrun by the terrorists. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu prophesied and talked about it. They did not listen. They took him for a joke. Now, all of you that came to kill Biafrans in Biafra land, all of you that gathered to go and kidnap Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya, what is happening to your community in Benue? What is happening to your community in Kwara? What is happening to your community in Kaduna? What is happening to your community in Kano? What is happening to your communities in Borno? What is happening to your communities in Abuja? What is happening to your communities in Yoruba land? Let us listen to this video. But we are calling on all Biafrans to
have met with some of
and support their freedom the way they have never done before. Because the final lap of the annihilation of everyone in Nigeria for the terrorists to take over is now. The final lap is now. So it's either you join your hands to defend your land, or you continue to sit idly by and watch as the terrorists will outnumber your people and your community will be next. Because the people of Kwara that were slaughtered 72 hours ago, none of them were of the know that they will become the victims of today. It's only the survivors of that attack that are able to tell the stories of the victims that are all gone. So, the survivors of today are the potential victims of tomorrow if you don't stand up to fight for your freedom.
and the truth. And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. One or two who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They're already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They're everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria. Don't joke with what I'm saying. I have a PhD from Oxford University. I'm a central banker. We don't talk nonsense. So don't joke with what I'm telling you. I have this from the highest possible authority, higher authorities of some of the commanders of the killers and Boko Haram.
You said northern governors, past or present, Dr. Badaya?
No, current. No, they said one of them is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. One of them. And they are not looking for money. They have more than enough money. In fact, he told me they just came back from and the truth. And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. One or two who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They're already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They're everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria. Don't joke with what I'm saying. I have a PhD from Oxford University. I'm a central banker. We don't talk nonsense. So don't joke with what I'm telling you. I have this from the highest possible authority, higher authorities of some of the commanders of the killers and Boko Haram.
You said northern governors, past or present, Dr. Badaya?
No, current. No, they said one of them is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. One of them. And they are not looking for money. They have more than enough money. In fact, he told me they just came back from...
Since after Dr. Mai Lafia left this message, and Nigerians that he gave the message failed him. Nigerians that he gave the message failed him. That is one thing to give a message to some foolish people, and then it's another thing for some other people to make use of the message. When you give a message to a foolish set of people, what they will do is that they will throw it inside the river. And the river will overrun it. But if you give the message to people that know the importance of such message, they will act on it. So giving that message out was the worst thing that Dr. Mai Lafia did. He thought he was dealing with people that are ready to save their lives. But after giving the message, those people did nothing. Rather, the people that even exposed Dr. Mai Lafia to Nigerian terrorist government to eliminate, they killed him, and the man is no more today. And what he told you all is what is happening today, in tandem with what Martin Amdekano said. Donald Trump continues to let Nigerian terrorists and their government to know that they can't kill Christians and go free in Nigeria. That his response will always be violent and brutal to every terrorist group that arises to slaughter the Christians. And some of them are saying, oh, it's not only Christians. That is why we are asking the question. The $9 million Tinubu lobby to pay against Biafra lobby, why didn't it stop the slaughter of 321 farmers in Kwara? Why didn't the 321 farmers slaughtered see succor in the hands of the $9 million lobbying of Tinubu? That means the lobbying was not to save the lives of the citizens of Nigeria. The lobbying was to destroy the Biafran people. The lobbying is to destroy the Biafran cause, the effectiveness and the movement of the Biafran people in Washington, D.C., so that they will not get their recognition for Biafra, so that they will not get the support that they want from America. That is what the lobbying was all about. The lobbying was never to save any of you. The lobbying was to make sure they go and lie to the American government so that when the terrorists come and slaughter you, nobody will listen to whatever you say. Because they will say, oh, we have already lobbied the American government. They are aware of what we told them and they have to portray the message. They have to disregard everything the Biafran people are coming to tell them about the genocide in Nigeria and how they have been slaughtered for years and how their leader was kidnapped in Kenya and has been sentenced to death because of what? Fighting for Biafra independence. because of defending their babies, women, and children against the same terrorists that have slaughtered 321 farmers in Kwara State. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not slaughter anybody, but the Nigerian government said they are giving him death sentence. They push him into prison. The terrorists that slaughtered uncountable numbers of babies, women, and children, Nigerian government continues to negotiate with them. They have slaughtered these numbers now, and they are going to do nothing about it. The next option you see is that these terrorists will invade another community. After all, this very Kwara community, where they slaughtered 321 people, they took away some as ransom or for ransom. They kidnapped some of them, and they need money in exchange before they will release them. The 170-something people that were kidnapped in Kaduna Church 3 weeks ago, Nigerian government have to pay money before they will get some of them back for those that will still be alive. The ones that were kidnapped in Niger State, this very last Sunday, so they say have to pay money before they get. As you give them money, they acquire more weapons. As you give them money, they acquire more weapons. You see, when the government starts by negotiating and paying the terrorists, you are forming a business enterprise. You are opening up a company for the terrorists to enrich themselves. So they will just capitalize on coming to kill and maim, and then come wait for you to come and pay the ransom. And that is how they will continue to live and make more money for the rest of the century. How will you stop it? You cannot stop it because you created it. That is why it's only the American government now that can come and destroy these terrorists which these people they themselves created, because they created it for a purpose. Biafran people. The grace of God that abounded on you, you were able to make use of it, even with your sabotages within and without, and your disunity amongst yourselves, and your unwillingness to come together to fund your freedom for it to be fully harnessed. The few of you that are doing it, you have done it wholeheartedly. With all your might, with all your strength. You bring everything you have, and then you put in, and the result is speaking volume. That is what has averted the 321 babies, women, and children that should have been slaughtered in Biafraland. But you see that they are being slaughtered in Kwara State. The grace that God gave Biafran people, we have utilized it, not minding how backstabbing, hatred, jealousy, evil, and bad plan against each other has been, and so much of betrayal. But yet, Biafran people made use of the grace of God to avert the genocide of 321 Biafran citizens. And then the radar was pushed to Kwara. The radar was pushed to Samfara. The radar was pushed to Benue. The radar was pushed to Plateau. The radar was pushed to Kano. The radar was pushed to Abuja. The radar was pushed to Niger State. The radar was pushed to every other state, like Katsina, every other state in the far north, where the plan of how to slaughter these babies, women, and children were actually planned. The radar was turned down to Sokoto. Come and support your freedom. This is the Nigeria that some of you are actually clapping for.
Everyone in it. All of the civilians. You know what? I'm going to say it if no one else will. Nigeria is the most failed country on the planet. Last night, over 200 civilians were murdered in the northern part of the country by armed gunmen who just invaded a village and killed everyone in it. All of the civilians, all of the children, all of the women just got shot dead. People moved from house to house and just started shooting them. And this is really bad. 200 people. This should be main breaking news, stuff we've never seen before. But guess what? In Nigeria, this is just another day. This happens literally every single week. This is the only country on the planet where hundreds of civilians are killed every single day by armed terrorist groups, and it doesn't even make the news. Not to mention, in Nigeria, you'll just drive up the road and there'll be dead bodies on the side of it from people who've been killed in car accidents, and the bodies just haven't been picked up. And guess what? If you stop to, check the body, the police will arrest you and say that you've killed the person. Everyone in Nigeria knows it. It's the most failed country on the planet. The best thing anyone in Nigeria ever dreams of doing is leaving and going to a different country. That is everyone in Nigeria's dream, is to leave Nigeria, and everyone knows it. Look, I mean, I'm not even going to say the people from Nigeria are very nice, because every Nigerian in my comments just has a go at me. And I bet if you read the comments on this video, it'll just be Nigerians having a go at me saying, "You don't know nothing about our country. This is fake news. We loved you." Nigerians, a message to you. Maybe start trying to fix your own country before you start trying to fix our opinions on your country. Then maybe we'd have better opinions of it. Hundreds of people are killed every single day. And for some reason, your government and military is unable to stop it. The only country in the world where it happens. This is embarrassing. Nigeria, what the hell are you doing?
What Nigerians are doing is to attack you, who is not even a Nigerian that is lending your voice. What Nigerians are doing is to come after you, to destroy you. They activate Japa system. All of them want to run away from Nigeria and then hand over the land to Boko Haram terrorists to take over. And then when you are talking and say, "Hey, why is the genocide happening in your country? Why don't you stand to fight?" They want to kill you. Why? Because they hate to hear the truth. The first thing you should have told them, Alex, is that when they are running out of the Nigeria and they are looking for a way to jackpot to, they should not jackpot to your own country. Yes, because you don't jackpot from your own country to their own country to go and hide idly by and to let those that want to take over your country to take over. You stand up to fight for your own country. But them, they want to run away from their own problem which they themselves created and come and hide in your own country. Then when you want to actually speak about their genocide, they say, "No, why should you speak about our genocide? You don't know anything about our country." But we want you to understand that those people that flood your comment section, they have no family or friends that have been slaughtered by these terrorists. They are not even the Christians that are being slaughtered on a daily basis. They are not those that have been directly affected. Some of them are the Fulani terrorist groups that have been recruited to make use of the comment section. Yes, that's what it is. While you have some other ones that the money they pay them every month could be maybe 200,000 naira or 500,000 naira, and their work is to come to the media, flood the comment section, and attack every effort that you're making. Alex, we want to let you know that in Biafra government, that we are fighting for Biafra, we have some educational illiterate. Yes, we have some educational illiterate. Just like you're complaining about the Nigerians coming to attack you for you talking for their own genocide. In Biafra government that we're fighting for Biafra, we have some educational illiterate, generational illiterate, who comes out and they start attacking what BDF are doing, what BRJ are doing in Washington, D.C. So, Alex, when you see those ones, what will you say? So, Alex, I think we need to tell you, welcome to the world where you try to help a monkey and the monkey is stoning you with poo-poo. Yes, because in Nigeria, anything that breathes or comes out or is groomed by Nigeria, this is the kind of brain mentality they have. You're trying to save them, but they are the ones that have been hired to attack you. But we appreciate your voice, because if you guys have been speaking like this against the genocide in Nigeria, it wouldn't have gotten to this point. And we appreciate the US government for taking their stand as the leader of the free world. I salute all Biafrans for all you're doing. And we must continue, because the mountains ahead of us are plenty. And we need to be ready to overcome each and every one of it. That we can assure you. So the big question now is the $9 million. The $9 million that was slated for lobbying against Biafra. The $9 million. Why hasn't the $9 million averted or stopped the slaughter, the genocide of 321 farmers in Kwara community within 48 hours? Within 48 hours, 321 farmers have been reportedly slaughtered with evidence. With evidence, so they have been slaughtered by the terrorists of one Nigerian government. Terrorists that is sponsored by Nigerian government within 24 or 48 hours. These are human beings. And let me see if this can come to the screen. These are human beings. Can you see this? These are human beings. These people here on the floor were slaughtered by the terrorists. And the $9 million lobbying of Tinubu did not stop this slaughter. The $9 million lobbying of Tinubu against Biafra did not catch the terrorists. The $9 million lobbying of Tinubu in America did not capture Boko Haram, did not capture the Islamic jihadist terrorists, did not capture the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda, did not capture the Fulani terrorists, did not capture the Lukurawa terrorists. In Nigeria, far north, there are over 22 terrorist groups that are fighting for one thing, jihad. And the $9 million did not in any way capture these terrorists, because the $9 million was paid to lobbyists in America. The $9 million was not paid to security agencies in Nigeria. The $9 million was not paid to security agencies to procure weapons to go and crush and destroy all the terrorists. No, rather, $9 million was paid to a lobbying firm. And their objective was for them to go after Biafra. So that whatever Biafra is putting on the table against Nigeria will not foster. But on every day, since the $9 million was paid, the numbers of people that have been slaughtered are more than what did not even happen before the $9 million was paid. So that means the $9 million lobbying is actually producing more and more and more terrorists to slaughter more babies, women, and children. We want everybody to understand why the Biafran people has been lobbying the US Congress. Why Biafran people actually declared their self-determination for Biafra independence. While Biafran people took a stand and said enough is enough, we cannot continue in a contraption where they will slaughter our babies, women, and children. We have to have our own separate country so that we can be able to identify our common enemy and deal with it. These numbers of babies, women, and children that you see shattered on the floor is the reason why Biafrans declared their independence. If anyone is asking us what we have achieved and how far we have gone, they should be able and ready to weigh our resolve on how we have averted the genocide of over 321 Biafrans that were supposed to have been slaughtered. We averted it and then we made it to go back to where they planned it in the far north. If you're asking for our resolve, if you're asking for our report card, you should be able to explain to us why this genocide and how Biafran people stop this genocide from happening in Biafra land. And rather, the genocide was echoed in Kwara. The genocide was echoed in Benue. The genocide was echoed in Plateau. That is how you can measure our resolve. That is how you can measure what we have done. That is how you can say the Biafran people have been resilient. They have been consistent in holding fast their lands and making sure their babies, women, and children were not slaughtered before they woke up. We sacrificed a lot to make it happen. With all the sabotage that we face, with all the prejudice, with all the name callings, with all the backstabbings, with all that we've gone through as disgrace in the hands of those that claim that they are also Biafrans with us. Few days ago, you all saw how Soludo was fighting against our sit-at-home. The sit-at-home prepared the minds of Biafrans for them to understand that they are living with existential threat. The sit-at-home made them to know that there is a terrorist in Nigeria who is not their friend, but is their enemy. The sit-at-home awoke the subconsciousness of the Biafran brains. The sit-at-home put Biafrans in high alert. The sit-at-home reminds Biafrans of their reason and their purpose of Biafra independence. The sit-at-home of Biafrans put the world on notice. The sit-at-home of Biafrans scares these terrorists away from Biafra land. And while we scare them from Biafra land, we are now able to arm ourselves to defend Biafra land with everything in us. So you can see how far they can use our own governors, our own senators, our own ministers, those that are serving the interests of one Nigeria just to destroy us. But you see that they sit at home, reshaped everything in us. So with the sit at home, everybody understands that we are aware of what is happening in Nigeria and that we are fully prepared for them. And we stand at alert. But the terrorists of one Nigeria recruit the governors and senators that we have and the ministers and some other people inside one Nigeria to do what? To start the fight against the same sit at home which the Biafran people have been using to destroy the terrorists. Do you now understand why Biafran people cannot stop the sit at home? It is part of our template. It is part of our weapon. It is part of our tools. It is part of what we have to use to stop this genocide in Biafra land. It's part of what we have to use to fight for the freedom of the Biafran people. Because if you slept and you scattered your legs, you forget yourself, you will not remember that there is insecurity in Nigeria. You will not remember that there is a terrorist that exists. But with the idea of the sit at home of the Biafran people, you are now at alert. You now understand that you don't have to sleep and snore and forget yourself. You now have to know that all you have to do is to be at watch and be at alert. You have to now remember that we are at war and that you don't have to give up. Will you go and sleep and forget yourself when you are in time of war? No, you tarry. The sit at home is part of the tarry night that you do. The sit at home is part of the keeping of watch over your babies, women, and children. The sit at home is to put you on check. The sit at home is to remind you that you are not just fighting mere mortals, that you are fighting against principalities and powers of doom, the children of Sodom and Gomorrah that have come to live in your own time. That is why the 321 farmers slaughtered by these terrorists could not make their ways into Biafra land, because we have activated many mechanisms to keep our people on check. And you cannot stop it. Not today, not tomorrow, not next tomorrow, not in 3 months to come. Not any of our leaders that are in prison can stop the sit at home. Yes, because they are in prison. If we stop the sit at home, nobody will remember them again. It is those that also claim that they are Biafrans that sign documents to send our leaders that are in prison to prison. So tell me how you will stop sit at home and then their aims and objective of sending you to prison will not be achieved. The sole aim of sending you to prison is to make sure you are forgotten. Is to make sure you die there in prison. Nobody talks about or remember you again, or nothing about you is discussed anymore. So we will not allow it to happen. So anybody that is standing on our ways of the sit at home, such person should have and be ready to have yourself to be blamed, because Biafran people will go after you. Biafran people will confront you. Biafran people will hold you accountable, because you are actually showing yourself or spotlighting yourself to be the prime enemy of the Biafran people. And we will not take it lightly with you. We will not take it lightly with you. So everybody should be aware that every tool and template that you have been using to fight against Nigeria is actually working. None of it is fading. All of them are yielding results. The Sitatomo, the BDF, the BRGIO, and every plan and pattern that is against Nigeria, they are all working out for our own good. The sky is our limit. We call on every Biafran to come out join their hands, support their freedom, because our freedom is in our own hands. If we leave it, the terrorists will overrun our lands. If we stop what we are doing now, our babies, women, and children will all be slaughtered, and none of them will see the light of day. So wake up and continue.
And as long as we remain determined and focused, there is no way they will ever succeed. Never. If you stop now agitating for Biafra, those who left back home will die. Never. I know you have not come with your pen and paper because I'm not on air.
We do.
I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. If you stop what you're doing, our people will die.
Yes. You are right.
Because when it starts happening, I will tell you on the 30th of May 2019 at Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Atlanta, I told you so.
Wow. Yes.
Spirit in human
If you stop now, your children will never go home. And as long as we remain determined and focused, there is no way they will ever succeed.
Never.
If you stop now agitating for Biafra, those who left back home will die.
Yes.
Never.
I know you have not come with your pen and paper because I'm not on air.
We do.
I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. If you stop what you're doing, our people will die.
Yes.
You are right.
Because when it starts happening, I will tell you on the 30th of May 2019 at Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Atlanta, I told you so.
Wow.
Yes.
Spirit in human
If you stop now, your children will never go home.
It's not about God forbid, oh, a word they say is enough for the wise. If you stop now, you will all be taken down. So come and support BRGI, support BDF, join the fundraising and the town hall meeting, and make a difference so that you can avert more of this genocide in Biafra land. And from what we are hearing, we've been made to understand that the numbers of the people massacred in Kwara community is more than this number stipulated here. So that means there are more numbers that will be coming. The numbers are more than 321. That is what I want everybody to take home this night. The numbers of people massacred in Plateau, in Samfara community is more than 321. Take that home and wait for the confirmation for tomorrow. There, what